Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Welcome to one in my railway series, one that's actually very close to where I live. I'm here in the town of Stroud in Gloucestershire. I'm standing on the site of what was once Stroud Station, but not the GWR one, which is the present day station on the line between Gloucester and Swindon. Incidentally, I've just filmed a video there, which will be landing separately, which is a short bike railway series video looking at the refurbished footbridge there at Stroud Station. I'll link to that at the end of this video. I'm here at the location of Stroud's other station. It wasn't a GWR station, but a Midland railway station. In fact, it was a branch off a branch. It was a branch off the line that ran from Stonehouse to Nailsworth, connecting up to that branch at Dudbridge. And what I plan to do in this shorter railway series video is walk from here, Stroud, and head down to Dudbridge, following the line of the former branch of the branch. Is there a word for that? I don't know. So a branch of the branch, which was about getting on for 1.5 miles long, around about 2 kilometres between here, the town of Stroud, and down towards Dudbridge, and so where it connected up with the main part of the branch, the Midland Railway. Now, there wasn't actually a physical railway connection between here, where I'm currently standing, where the railway station was, which was called Stroud, although in railway timetables it was known as variously Stroud Warbridge, which is also where we are, because just down there is where the Stroud Water Canal meets the Thames and Severn Canal, so yes, that's where we are. And also Stroud Cheapside, which is the road that just runs behind me here, going up to platform 2 of the present day GWR station. So there was no physical railway connection between the two. Of course, they were rival companies as well. It was a short-lived station. It was mainly operated for freight. We'll talk more about that as we do our walk. But so in terms of positioning, canal down there, just insert a couple of photos of that now, what you can see of that side. And the GWR station is over there. That used to be a company called Hill Pauls. They were kind of they cleaned, bulk cleaned materials, and they had like these huge steam presses, but they're rather fancy apartments now, providing great views across the town here of Stroud in the southern half of the Cotswolds. As I say, that's our canal down there, joining up, well, it's the Thames and Severn that way, Stroud Water that way, and over there you'll probably see part of a viaduct. So I'm on a little bit of a viaduct here. Part of it was sadly demolished, so the viaduct's kind of continued on there, and you can see the arches going on the other side. That was a continuation, and that's where our railway line went, going over there, which is now like I think it's a timber yard down there, and also the new bypass, which was put in 1990s, I believe. So we've got the arches there, so we're going to head down in that direction to pick up the line of this branch of the branch here on West Country Wanderings. Now, the line from Stonehouse to Nailsworth, which connected up to the main line between Bristol and Birmingham, just south of the city of Gloucester, opened in 1867. The station at Dudbridge, which is what we're walking to, was opened as Dudbridge for Stroud, even though it was over a mile away from the town here. The railway was quickly taken over by the Midland because it was originally independent, and to say that was their main line between Bristol and Gloucester, joining at Stonehouse. And in 1885, the Midland Railway built this branch here to the town of Stroud from Dudbridge. The new line opened for goods traffic only in 1885, and for passengers on the 1st of July 1886. Now, the building itself here was not as grand as the GWR one. Indeed, it's still the one that's just been recently repainted, because it was a wooden one, because it was later opened for passenger traffic, and it was described as a temporary one, and although it was never built or redone in brick or stone, and it lasted throughout the station's life though and beyond. Goods traffic here was always a lot more important than the passenger services. They always tended to prefer the line on the GWR, which obviously took them to places like Gloucester, Cheltenham, Worcester, Birmingham, and down to Swindon and London, but this only took you to Dudbridge, where you had to change for either Stonehouse in one direction or Nailsworth, which are both minor towns. Now, with the grouping of the railway companies in 1923, this Midland Railway, which I say was originally independent, became part of the LMS, the London, Midland and Scottish Railway. It was mainly used for freight, for bringing in coal. With the decline of the Stroud Water and Thames and Severn Canal, so it was picking up the decline of the canals basically. The passenger station here closed as a temporary measure in 1947. Why was that? Well, I think it was to save fuel. Coal, although the Second World War had ended, was still rationed and in short supply. So there are various economy measures on the railways in the United Kingdom to save that precious resource for heavy engineering, that sort of thing. And because this didn't carry many passengers, it temporarily closed. It reopened again just for a very short period of time, but sadly closed completely by 1949, although freight continued on until 1966. And it's one of my very, very earliest memories. And sometimes you could just get these flashbacks of seeing things when you're really, really young. And I was really, really young when I remember seeing a freight train between Stroud and Stonehouse around Ryford, and again at a place called the Ship Inn near the canal, Stroud Water Canal, near the town of Stonehouse as well. I remember seeing that, but I think it only happened once or twice. My memory around that is a bit hazy, but I just seem to remember some. I think it was a light goods train, possibly carrying coal, but that's all I remember about it. There are a few photos about that. Let's see if I can find them. I'll insert them round about now. Let's continue our walk here on this short branch down to, well, the suburb of Dudbridge. So if you're familiar with my canal series here on West Country Wanderings, this is the headquarters of the Cotswold Canals Trust here at Cheapside in Stroud. So it sits almost right next to the junction of the TNS and Stroud Water. Here at Bell House, adjacent to what is known as Dudbridge Lock, so that's the TNS canal. So this is the Dudbridge Lock here on the TNS canal, and you can see there, that's where I was standing up there, top of that, what was a viaduct here, bridge that took what later became the Midland Railway, then the LMS, over the Thames and Severn Canal. So we're going to link up to it, the route on the right hand side of it. As you can see there, we were looking down on the Travis Perkins warehouse and timber merchant. So we can't walk on that viaduct, which has been cut in half. You can just see there it is. So it's cut on both sides, in fact. So we need to join up the route a little bit further on. In order to do that, we need to go through or underneath the bypass here, through this subway. So we're following the road going over the River Frome over here, and we need to turn in left just after the Quick Fit Tyre Centre. So our railway track bed is up there after leaving Dudbridge, so to the right takes us down to Dudbridge, and we'll be able to follow it there. There's a little path that gives us access to it. That back down there is the main road heading into Stroud Town Centre. Just want to have a look a little bit further along here, see if we can see any more of the viaduct that has now been truncated. You can actually see in a supporting abutment there, typical blue bricks of the Midland Railway. Well, I've just come to the back of Dudbridge House private parking here, and you can see our viaduct which brought the Midland Railway, later LMS Railway, into Stroud Cheapside there. As I say, it's truncated to the right and to the left of us here. You can just make out some concrete blocks just through the trees there, and obviously then our railway can continue no more. And then it went round through this car park, or above the car park should I say, over that way, and that's where we're going to pick up the line of the railway now. So this is the end of the line as far as the branch of the branch is concerned towards Stroud Station, MR-LMS version, or Stroud, Cheapside or Dudbridge. So you can't go on that any further because of the truncated viaducts. But let's have a look in the other direction. And this is in the other direction, and this is going to be our route for the next just over, about 1¼ miles down to the suburb of Dudbridge, where it met the main part of the branch, going to Stonehouse and Nailsworth. So we're walking on the track bed now. A couple of people have asked me previously, why don't I cover the Stonehouse to Nailsworth railway line? Unfortunately, as you can probably hear, it's quite noisy, so doing a full length one is difficult because it's not great on the soundtrack. Now this one fortunately goes in a nice cutting here, but the Stonehouse to Nailsworth branch follows the A419 into Stroud, and then it curves off at Dudbridge, and then it parallels the A46, which is the main Stroud to Bath Road, which is also very, very busy. But here on this section, the branch of the branch on what was the Midland Railway. We're in a beautiful cutting now, so we've got that banked out there, which kind of deadens the overwhelming noise of traffic. I'm actually filming this on a Friday evening. It's been a very warm day before the long May Day bank holiday coming up this weekend. Now we have the first of our original features. We haven't been able to see much close up yet, have we, in terms of surviving features here, but we certainly got one coming up, and that is the railway bridge going over, or rather the road bridge going over the railway, which goes up towards the village of Robborough, which goes up Robborough, Minchin, Hampton that way. If you know the Stroud area, onto the commons on the top there, you can actually go on that way onto Cirencester and southeast if you want to go into London that way. So but it's just a really interesting bridge because the road is on a slope, quite a fairly steepish slope, but obviously because we're on a railway, as you can see, we're on the nice and flat here, and it's nice and cool here with the trees and all the bird song around, and we've thankfully got that deadening of the road noise because of the bank there. So here we go, you can see the bridge here. So this is the road that takes you up to Robborough. To the right of that is where it joins up with the main road coming out of Stroud across to Dudbridge, going across up to, I've forgotten the name of the cross, is it Golden Cross? That's it, by the Stroud Rugby Club there. And yeah, you can see that this would have cost the engineers of the Midland Railway in the 1880s quite a bit to put in. It's still in excellent condition, however. So from this angle here, now we've got the sunlit on this side, it was in shade as I was walking to it, you can appreciate just how ginormous this bridge carrying the Robborough Road is. Huge number of bricks there, obviously it's double width because it's a very busy main road accessing up to both of the commons, which are now looked after by the National Trust. And yeah, absolutely fantastic brickwork. As I walk a bit further back, you can see the incredible brickwork and the excellent condition of this. So the railway here, in terms of passengers, only survived for, what's it, about 50 or 60 years, but it's now over 150 years since the railway was in use, or since it was built, should I say, not in use. It's, what's that, about 60 years since the railway closed as far as freight is concerned, but it's still in excellent condition. They certainly didn't do things in half measures when they built these magnificent railway structures. As we leave that bridge there, Robborough Hill Bridge, we've got another bridge coming up which is of a different construction to that one, and that one obviously was difficult because of the road being on a hill, steep incline. That's a bit of bird song there, I think it's blackbird I can hear. And we're coming up to this one which carries the main Bath Road out of Stroud, heading around to the top part of, as I say, Golden Cross, top part of Dudbridge Hill, and then around into the Woodchester and Nailsworth Valley, where it then goes up the hill and down to the city of Bath. So it's, again, another busy road, as you can hear from the traffic, but we're underneath it and so protected from the worst of the road noise here. Rush hour is starting to ease now. I think it's about 6 o'clock on this Friday evening, so things starting to calm down. But again, this bridge is in good condition. The abutments of it are original. I'm not sure if the deck is original, but it looks like it's been refurbished in fairly recent times because the paintwork on it is looking excellent in a deep green colour. Let's have a look at that now. So here's the road bridge over our branch of a branch, carrying that Bath Road. I never know the number of this bit. When it gets to Dudbridge, it does become the A46, but I think this bit is like a curve. So it's carrying all kinds of different roads, which are all in brackets on the road sign. But I digress. So there, that will take you down to the city of Bath if you follow that road there. But as you can see, it is in excellent condition, and they have been doing some tree felling here. Some of the trees of ash trees which have died, some had overhanging branches which are in a bit of a precarious state, and because cyclists and footpaths still use this to get between the town centre and Dudbridge, and the reason why they might want to do that will become clear as we get there. It looks in very, very good order indeed, and I certainly would think that's probably been painted in the last probably 2 or 3 years. Excellent. Now, the Stonehouse to Nailsworth railway line was started by an Act of Parliament in 1863, what was then the Bristol and Gloucester Railway Company. And it was reported that the first sod was cut in the Stroud Journal. And at that time, the plan was to continue the line south from the town of Nailsworth, beautiful town of Nailsworth, here in the Cotswolds, on towards Tetbury, Malmesbury and Chippenham. And of course, in doing so, they would have acted as a big rival to the Great Western Railway. But the thing was, doing such a thing, if you know the geography of the area, you'll know after Nailsworth you come across the Cotswold Escarpment. If you're driving from Nailsworth to Bath, you have a really steep hill to drive up to get to the top there if you want to go on to places like Tetbury, Malmesbury and into Wiltshire from there. The cost of that was really, really prohibitive for the amount of traffic that this was going to be taking, bearing in mind you had the canals running and also the GWR line, which was doing really, really well for the railway company through the Golden Valley up to Gloucester and down to up to Gloucester and Cheltenham and down to Swindon and London. So they had a monopoly with that. So this much smaller branch was never ever going to be able to compete. The connections that the GWR had already established some 30 or 40 years beforehand. Lovely soft evening light here at the moment, so it's quite ideal for lighting, and it's getting cooler. It has been quite a warm day again. I think as we go into the bank holiday weekend the temperature will drop, which is good because I don't like filming in hot temperatures, which is why I've been filming this evening rather than during the daytime, a little bit quieter, apart from the yapping dog there. Now, as we've left Stroud, this railway's been pretty much flat all the way. Here, it's going to be curving around a little bit. It's been quite straight and flat, and then it's actually going to be going on a gradient, actually a fairly steep gradient. I can't remember how steep it is. Take it into Dudbridge, where, as I say, it joined up with the main branch between Stonehouse and Nailsworth. And as it does so, we'll be coming across an interesting feature, and I'm hoping that the remains of those are still going to be here on this branch, which later became the LMS branch into Stroud. But I'm just wondering nowadays how many people that live in Stroud and use the GWR station to catch trains to London and Gloucester and other places around the country realise that Stroud originally had its separate station onto the branch, and you could have caught a train to both Nailsworth and then joined up with the Midland Railway and caught a train down to Bristol. I'm not sure how many people would know that now, because it's not evident from just seeing those stubs of viaducts what originally the purpose of them was. Started to be on quite an embankment here because Dudbridge is in the valley, the start of the valley, which goes on down to Woodchester and Nailsworth. This is higher up here to this point, so you know that it's going to have to start to make its descent into there. Near there was a BP factory, I've forgotten the name, was it Aeronoids, that was it, and they made plastic which went in things like knitting needles and many other applications, and it was near there that we had that connection. And there was a station at Dudbridge, of course, and say that opened originally some 30 years before this branch was completed into Stroud. And I remember after the line closed, and where the present day Sainsbury's roundabout is, that there was protests because they were going to build a bypass there and a new roundabout, that they needed to demolish what was left of the railway station and the site of the railway line. And sadly, the protest came to nothing, and the station and the site of the junction at Dudbridge and all the railway track bed is now gone. But I'll show you if in that, we'll look at the site of it. There isn't a great deal to see. There is a plaque there, but I'll try and include some photographs to give you an appreciation and feel of what it was once like. Now, as we start our descent on the gradient, you can see this. I thought, or I was concerned it might be buried in the undergrowth, but you can certainly see the one. There may be another couple of them. And this, you need to imagine this was upright, so you've got a concrete base here, and obviously now it's turned on 90 degrees. And if you look at it and you're not an understanding of what it is, it looks like it might be sort of an outfall pipe, but it's not a pipe as such at all. It was actually for ropes, so if you imagine this was up through 90 degrees, that way up, this would have been standing upright, and it was used for rope to manoeuvre trucks up and down the incline for the nearby Stroud gasworks. We have another structure here, a reminder of this branch of the branch, which is like a turntable. And I do believe there was like a wooden plinth here, which was used for turning the trucks around, which were used to get the coal into the Stroud gasworks site, and then it would go through a process then to extract the gas out of the coal. So yes, we're talking in days prior to North Sea oil gas. When did that change over? I think it was the 1970s. You can see the brickwork on the other side here, red brickwork and in concrete. So I don't know the year that this was put in here. I'm at a guess, I'd probably stand to guess, not at time of construction, but a little bit later, maybe at the end of the 19th century going into the early 20th century. If I can find more information on that, I'll put it in the usual way. But it's great to see this survivor and reminder of what was one of the original purposes of this short branch into the Cotswold town of Stroud. Just on the banks of the railway here, as we approach Dudbridge, this absolutely glorious spread of wild garlic here. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, unlike the other one we saw was operating for the Stroud gasworks, this one is upright and completely intact, so the concrete hasn't been broken off here, and it's in its original vertical position, which would have said winding around that post. I imagine rope going around that to move the trucks. The original main branch from Stonehouse to Nailsworth, prior to the building of the bypass, present-day A419 link road to the M5 from Stroud, was turned into a cycle path. I think it was around about 87, 88, and then they added the bypass a few years later, and I think it's cycle route number 48, and it's actually a through cycle route all the way from Chester, according to my notes, to Salisbury. I must admit, I didn't even know that. I didn't realise it was such an extended cycle route. Later on, this section here was turned into a cycle route now, so we've got a tarmac surface, so it's an all-weather surface connecting up the town of Stroud, where we started the video, down towards Dudbridge. Now, why would the people of Stroud want to head down to Dudbridge? Well, there are a couple of supermarkets down there, so we've got Sainsbury's and Lidl, which was opened just 2 or 3 years ago, so that's an important part of the story why they want to do that. And also to access another section of the canal, there's a nice area around there by Ebley Wharf, cafe there, and also of course you can connect up then and use the cycle route heading across to Stonehouse, or indeed town to the town of Nailsworth, which is a really popular town for shopping and just generally chilling out. I think this area here is private, that's why we've got this metal fence on this section here. I can't see anything obvious that's in there, but I'm not sure if that is part of the remains of the gasworks or not. But see if I can find a photo of Stroud gasworks to give you a flavour of that, but I can't see any abandoned building structures or metal works or indeed brickworks or anything like that through there. But the other path down the bottom there is accessible. You can walk through there, down through all those present bits of wild garlic there. But I'm really enjoying this. I haven't seen many walkers. I've only seen 2 or 3 walkers since I left the town of Stroud. It's a lot quieter and a lot busier than I thought it would be. There's a few cyclists going through, but not that many to be fair. And it's good to see that it's being used and it's taking obviously traffic off the busy roads around the Stroud area. So this bridge here is carrying the road that goes up towards the Golden Cross Junction, heading up towards B&Q, and then you can go across the crossroads up to Robber from the other direction, and to the right it takes you down to Dudbridge, the aforementioned supermarkets and the station there. Ahmed said 48 in the video earlier on, but it's NCN National Cycle Network number 45. Let's see, I think it does go between Chester and Salisbury, the city in Wiltshire, of course, also here in the West Country Wanderings region. And yeah, so Stroud, that's where we've come from now, so we've nearly just gone over the mile, and then as you can see it will then take you on to either Stonehouse or Nailsworth. Now here, unfortunately, our railway branch ends, so it would have continued on down here on a dropping curved gradient, but because, yes, you guessed it, they put a road in here and some new housing, that the original line of the railway has been compromised, and well, it was basically taken out. So this bit here, they've now replaced it by a set of steps which take you down to Pelican Crossing. But let's head on down to Dudbridge itself to see where the site of Dudbridge railway station once was. So here we're looking in the direction of Robborough Hill is just up there, and famous Robborough Fort, but we're going to head down this way because this bit is part of Robborough Parish, so we need to go on down this way. But it is really difficult to imagine that was once a railway ever here in this location, and that's approximately where that Pelican Crossing is, where the railway would have been on a curved embankment, which is now been taken out because of road improvements. I think there was a bridge carrying the road underneath. We've got a bit of a railway war here, but most of what I've just walked through is a housing estate, so nothing of railway interest to see on that section as we approach the site of Dudbridge Station. So we're now opening up onto what was once the junction. So behind me was Stroud, just over a mile. To the right, Stonehouse, about 2.5 miles. And to the left, Woodchester, 1.5 miles, which had a station on this branch, and Nailsworth, which was the terminus of the line. I'm just going to follow part of the line in the direction of Ryford, just a short way, just to tell you a little bit more about the complete branch, and a little bit more about some of the other stations on this line. So we're going to go down this way. Now the site of the station wasn't here, but down through there, there's actually present day underpass which we're going to go through. Sorry for the dodgy lighting now, just the sun's in the wrong place. So what we can see here is the original Midland Railway brickworks here on the main part of the branch looking towards Stonehouse, and the main line between Bristol and Birmingham. And just for completion, that's looking back down towards Nailsworth to the right and Stroud to the left. Now there, the wall on the right hand side with its blue bricks is original. This tunnel here, the short tunnel, isn't. That carries the road going up towards Selsley, which then takes you into the Stanley's, Middle Yard, etc., which was widened, and hence why they couldn't use the original railway bridge, and then it was demolished and replaced by this underpass to complete the link of the cycle and footpath. Now here, unfortunately, it dumps you at this point where all that heavy traffic is, which is the present day A419 bypass, close to Sainsbury's. This is where the site of Dudbridge Station once was. A little bit further on, I think there's a plaque on the wall on the left hand side. Let's see if we can find that. So that's looking at the other end of our tunnel underneath the Selsley Hill Road. Not the most attractive, certainly not as attractive as the bridge we saw near the start of the video. So this is approximately the site of Dudbridge Railway Station. That's the back wall of Dudbridge Station there. It's quite a substantial station building, now long gone. Sadly the seats here are not in greatest state either, are they? And here is our plaque. Midland Railway, Dudbridge Station, 1867 to 1969. Interesting that it's dated 1969, because I kind of dispute the date that it closed in 66, because remember I said near the beginning I saw trains. I think I actually saw them running after 1966, but of course it could have been the salvage team trains that were running on the line after it officially closed to freight that were taking the track up towards the end of the 1960s. Just going to give you a quick spin round and a resume of where we are and where I'm just going to close the video off. So we've come through that little tunnel there underneath the road. That there is the mill, flour mill over there next to Sainsbury's. This is the roundabout, which is what effectively demolished Dudbridge Railway Station and the line of the railway, and that's the bypass. But we're going to go on the other side of the bypass to pick up the line of the railway again. Now I do apologise for the traffic noise in this video. We're next to 60-mile-an-hour road, the A419, and this is the very reason I haven't done a video looking at the entire length of the Midland Railway between Stonehouse and Nailsworth, because Busy Road follows the former branch line all of the way between Stonehouse and Nailsworth. Occasional pauses in traffic. Probably best time to do this would be like a Christmas Day or Boxing Day, or very, very early in the morning, but even then it can still be busy. However, our story is that in Stonehouse there were not 2 railway stations like in Stroud, but actually 3 railway stations. One which was the terminus of this branch from Nailsworth, but also another line on the main line between Bristol and Birmingham, which was called Bristol Road, so now it's Bristol Road, and there is a campaign to reopen that station. It'd be very, very useful for commuters in and around this area to get to Bristol and further on down into the southwest. My other train of thought on this line here and its legacy, although now it's a very, very useful cycle route down to Salisbury and Chester in the other direction, is that had it stayed open, or indeed the track preserved, it could have been used as a light railway, perhaps a tramway, to serve the towns in this area, remembering that the adjacent and parallel GWR line had the Chalford Donkey with lots of halts on it. And rather than reopening all the halts on that line, which would have slowed the mainline trains to London down, you could have had a tramway light railway system here, connecting Stonehouse, Ebley, Ryford, which was the next station on this line incidentally that I'm walking to at the moment, Dudbridge and Stroud. So lots of halts. You could operate as a light transit system, and it would have taken the pressure off our very, very busy road network. But then again, you can say that about a lot of our railways. Sadly now, of course, the line has been compromised, as you saw back there at Dudbridge, where there's no trace of it there at all. Just going past Ebley Fields now, and this is a bridge here over, because this area can flood sometimes, so the River Frome is over in that direction. And I'd just like to end the video here really on walking in the direction of the suburb of Ryford, where there's a nice section there by the canal. I think I'll pop there for a drink and chill out to finish the video off. But thank you very much for watching West Country Wanderings today. Till next time on the channel, all the best for now. Cheers. Bye bye.